The first panel is on the theme of engaging students in the post-COVID-19 era, moderated by Dr. Mansi Chaudhary, who is the head of our business communication area. The second panel, apologies, who's head of our HR and OB area. The second panel is moderated by Dr. Archana Srivastav, head of our business communication area. And she will discuss key insights from the book on teaching by heart by Thomas G. DeLong, who is a Baker Foundation professor of management practice and the former Philip J. Stromberg professor of management practice in the organization behavior department at the Harvard Business School. As yesterday, we have three special guest lectures in the afternoon sessions. The first lecture is on incorporating literature, arts, and culture in the B Schools curriculum, an Indian perspective by Dr. Anup Singh, who is the Director General of Nirma University. The second is on building a faculty community for negotiating future challenges of B Schools during the post-pandemic era by Dr. Ranjan Banerjee, who's Dean of BITSOM. And the third on how to promote quality, excellence, and work culture in the university or B School by Dr. C. Rajkumar, who is the Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal University. With this very brief introduction, I would request Dr. Mansi Chaudhary to commence the proceedings of the first panel, engaging students in the post-COVID-19 era. Dr. Chaudhary, please.
Thank you, sir. And a very good morning to all of you one more time. Okay, so let me begin by this saying, by the famous saying by Benjamin Franklin: tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. And if you look at the visual on the right of your screen, you would see, we are moving much ahead from involvement to sharing to interaction to finally engaging. So as already shared by Professor Chuck, we are going to engage in a discussion on this topic, engaging students in the post-COVID-19 era. So all of us, when we are attending classes, probably think that, so many people who are visible on our screens are probably with us attending to whatever we are discussing in class. But the actual situation may be that only a few amongst these are actively engaged, while the others are engaged in something else. So when we thought of talking about this particular topic while planning this FDP, I thought that we ourselves have been experimenting with so many initiatives on our part, so it would be a good idea to benefit from the collective wisdom of our colleagues here. All of us understand that engagement is very critical to learning and achievement, and the accompanying indicators could be student motivation, persistence, eagerness, curiosity to learn, to know, inquisitiveness, and so on. But after the pandemic, many students are finding it difficult to engage with their faculty and fellow learners through remote learning. And majority of educators also feel that students are now less motivated and more reluctant to speak and interact with others. So you can see here a very recent study which found that 50% of the students said themselves that their motivation had gone down by 50%, whereas faculty said that less than 87% were as motivated as they were earlier. So frequent contact and communication definitely have a role to play here. The same study also tried to assess what has happened to the morale of students. So again, about half the students said that their morale has decreased from before the pandemic to now, whereas faculty said that they felt that about 82% students had a lower morale. So instructors who frequently name their students and address them by name probably are able to connect better with the students and therefore engage with them in more productive ways. So what exactly are students finding difficult? One of the ideas shared in all the literature that I've been through is time management. So they're finding it difficult to finalize how much of time to allocate to each of these learning activities and what exactly is expected out of them. They are therefore experiencing work of overload because too many assignments, too much to do, and again, a lot of digital communication by way of emails. No personal contact. So that feeling of belongingness, feeling of having help at hand to interact with fellow colleagues and peers and faculty, that also is missing. So a personal touch is what we look forward to. Internet issues, all of us have probably dealt with or undergone this experience where from the student perspective, they may be unable to connect and therefore unable to attend classes and also access material which is available online to them. Managing boundaries, I think this is a common challenge both for the students as well as faculty, because when you are, we're going through so many long meetings or maybe attending classes all through the day, it becomes difficult for you to move out from one place to the other, and thus your work-life balance tends to get affected. And of course, there is performance anxiety because you feel exposed when you are attending online sessions and you have your camera on. So it's not just your own incompetencies that might get revealed when you engage in some discussion, but also what is there behind you. Even that could be a cause of anxiety to students. Now let us look at the educator's perspective. Now, when it comes to online teaching, and basically what most of us probably tried doing to begin with was to adapt the practices which worked for us in the face-to-face classes and see what we can do with the same strategies in an online mode. So online environments were impeding our relationship with the students, and regular communication with them, which included consistent feedback, critical discourses, were probably helping us to establish that presence and connect with our learners. And many of us have tried to combine various methods, be it audio, video, synchronous, asynchronous discussions, and other activities to engage with our students. But when our campuses started functioning and we started getting into blended teaching, there were other challenges. So here we were trying to combine many kinds of roles and responsibilities. We had a set of students with us present in class who wanted more interaction, where we could have some kind of peer interaction as well. And there were other students who were attending online. So engagement with them required more or less similar tactics, which we had been indulging in earlier. So above all, I think the crux of the story was that faculty, the more they are making themselves available to students, be it online as well as offline, that probably led to better learning outcomes. Now, if I were to, when I read more to understand what exactly is student engagement, and I came across this definition, which was given way back in 2016, which said it is the amalgamation of attention, interest, curiosity, and so on and so forth, which students display in the class. And the measure of engagement was given by these four parameters. So engaged students have more motivation to participate in class, they enjoy achieving learning goals, they are more likely to persist through challenges in the learning process, and they feel intrinsically motivated to gain new and deeper understanding. Now, when I wanted to learn further about the different dimensions of student engagement, there were a whole lot of dimensions. They spoke about social engagement, behavioral and emotional engagement, academic and intellectual engagement, and cognitive engagement. I'm sure you'll agree with me, so much of text on these last two slides is not really a good idea to engage with students. So what did I do? I laid my hands on this engagement framework. And here I can display what the different dimensions of engagement are. Basically, three categories: emotional engagement, behavioral engagement, and cognitive engagement. In emotional engagement, we can talk about learning communities where there is complete social emotional check-ins at the beginning of the session. Like we did today, I asked you to quickly write down in the chat window how you're feeling. And that would probably help us build a stronger relationship, a better connect with our students. And the more challenging assignments we give to them, that would probably build in the growth mindset in the students. Now, coming to the behavioral part of it, we can talk about class norms, wherein you decide what is acceptable and expected in class and what is not. And the norms are laid down to begin with at the very beginning of your course. There could be some restorative practices and collaboration where you are promoting positive behavior, where you are engaging in deep classroom discussions with your students so that they can identify various kinds of viewpoints and perspectives and think clearly about their own thoughts and actions. And the kind of assignments we give to them gives them ample opportunities to collaborate with each other. And finally, moving on to the cognitive part of it, we can think of authentic experiences where we use virtual resources, different breakout rooms where people can think innovatively, analyze situations, they can raise questions about what they are doing, why they are doing, and come up with their own learning strategies, such as maybe rehearsing, persistence, connecting to prior knowledge, so on and so forth. Right? So yesterday, Mr. Anil Sachdeva spoke about the 4D model of the appreciative inquiry process. Okay, so this is the model right in front of you. It basically moves on from discovery about what the organization does best. Then you start dreaming about, envisioning where you want to reach, what you want to do, what you want to capitalize on. And based on this dream, you design your further course of action. And then finally, you deliver it. So here it is mentioned destiny. When this model was proposed, the fourth D was destiny, which was later on modified to make it deliver. And that is something that is really very close to my heart. It just comes from the positive psychology discipline. So here, my aim is to focus on the first D here, to discover our internal resources and the best practices we have here, which would in turn enable us to dream about the future. And probably each one of us would design what we want to do and then finally deliver it. But at the same point of time, I'll add 2 more Ds here. This will be in terms of discussion here and some bit of demonstration as well. My apologies to colleagues from BGU because I was not able to reach you earlier. But the idea here was this whole galaxy of panelists available for this session have been drawn out from the different programs and areas here at BIMTech, who are going to be spokesperson for their programs and areas and share with us what are some of the initiatives that they have taken. So I'll stop sharing now and request the first speaker, Professor A.V. Shukla, Professor of Marketing and Chairperson of Center for Research Studies at BIMTech, to please tell us about his initiatives. Shukla sir, please unmute yourself.
Is he sharing his screen or going to speak? I hope he can hear you.
Shukla sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I lost the connection momentarily.
Fine.
Okay. So,
can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, you're audible now, and please go ahead with your points.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Manashi, and good morning once again to all of you. Let me quickly get ahead with what I have to present here today, but not before recapitulating a few things. We have learned quite a lot of new vocabulary during this pandemic, and not only new vocabulary, but new terms which had new meanings. So yesterday, there was a new term and a new meaning that I learned, and I would like to share that. So we learned about face-to-face classes, online classes, virtual mode, real mode, and of course, then came on the hybrid mode, and which I soon realized meant that the classes were switching between online and video modes. So some people called it synchronous and asynchronous classes. Yesterday, I learned a new meaning of the hybrid mode, and I'm very happy about that new meaning of the hybrid mode. And that while learning can be virtual and online, the food, the lunch, and the tea can be real. So thank you so much, the institute, the director, and the administrative support, which saw to it that while our learning was online and virtual, our food was real, hot, and served on time. So that is possibly the new meaning of the hybrid mode that we learned yesterday. Let me begin by sounding a warning to all. If you don't like what I present here today, the person responsible for it is Dr. Manushi Chaudhary. She took our audition a couple of days ago. And I'm using the word audition because now on the online mode, possibly faculty members and teachers are not going to be interviewed, but are going to be auditioned. So here I go. I'm sharing with you some of the experiences of the Center for Research. Now, the new batch of the Center for Research, wherein scholars come in to pursue their doctoral degree, started in July 2020. The pandemic had already set in, and we had realized that we'll have to change our classes from the physical mode into the online mode. And as we went into the online mode, we were quick to realize that these online classes were actually hampering some very important facets of the doctoral journey. And those facets I'm going to list out before you. One, we soon realized that it was hampering free flow of inter-scholar discussions. Free flow of inter-scholar discussions were hampered, and so were also hampered exchange of ideas and the resulting insights and learnings that the scholars get from each other as they attend physical classes. Now, what we soon realized in a month's time was that there was absolute lack of bonding, which is very essential in a doctoral journey. Because I'm sure most of you over here who've completed your own doctoral journey would agree to me that it is quite a few times during the doctoral journey that one feels like giving up, that one feels like, oh, it's not worth it. And that it is at these times that your colleagues in the doctoral journey push you through, motivate you through. So that bonding with your co-scholars is very essential in a doctoral journey, and that is what was lacking. So we were brainstorming on this of what to do with it, how to solve it, how to go ahead with it. And it was during one of these brainstorming sessions that we happened to meet the director, Dr. Chaturvedi, and it was this idea that he gave to us. And that idea was, why not we start a series of online research workshops? And we picked up the idea. We got into touch with national and internationally reputed faculty in the research area. And soon we started organizing online research workshops. Now, these workshops were away from the usual weekend classes that scholars went into. And so most of you might think, so what was different in it? So instead of having online classes, you were having online workshops. But then there were a couple of very great advantages which these online workshops brought along. And those advantages I'm going to list before you. One, and this Manushi also mentioned just in the beginning of today's session, the interactions became more frequent. We saw that scholars came into the online workshop classroom before the invited resource person had come. They went out from the classroom much after the workshop had ended, and there was a whole lot of increased interaction amongst the scholars during these pre and post sessions. So there was a lot of sharing of ideas. We saw that slowly the peer-to-peer learning picked up, and bonding and support got established. Most importantly, these workshops gave us a few advantages. One was they provided a break from the routine classes. Not seeing the same Dr. Sahai and the same Dr. Day in every class was a big break from the routine for the scholars. And I'm sure Dr. Sahai and Dr. Day would pardon me for saying this, but this is also one way of keeping your attendees attentive, because at this very moment, although I can't see Dr. Sahai and Dr. Day, but I'm sure they must have got up and sat straight in their beds or in their chairs because their names were mentioned. So the scholars were provided with a break from the routine, and we could, at the Center for Research, tap into national and international resources, which earlier was not possible. So these were some of the advantages. We could hold about 7 to 8 workshops. To name a few people who came in holding these workshops, one of them was Dr. Sanjay Singh Gaur from the New York University, and Hena Lehtamaki, Professor Hena Lehtamaki from the University of Eastern Finland. Of course, there were a couple of Indian scholars also who held these workshops. We've got very high feedback of these workshops from the participants, and as instructed to me by my moderator, our future plans are that in spite of the fact that we might possibly get over the pandemic and go into the physical mode again this year, hoping for the best, we would still continue with online workshop series. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I must say one thing, the key takeaway that I've got from this FDP and from today's session is that you should play a role in every FDP, even if it's a minor role of 5 to 8 minutes of a talk, because you then get a special mail giving you a special link to be a panelist, which suddenly makes you feel important and empowered. Thank you so much. Manushi is the person to be contacted for any feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Shukla. I will now request my next panelist, Professor Manoj Pandey, who is Chairperson, Center for Corporate Communications and also Associate Professor of Insurance here at BIMTech, to share the initiatives of the Center for Insurance and Risk Management. And thank you, Professor Shukla, for being bang on time. And I request all the other panelists also to please adhere to the timelines we've decided on. Over to you, Professor Pandey.
Thank you, ma'am, and good morning to all my fellow colleagues from BIMTech campus as well from BJU. Good to have a session after Professor Shukla because he has covered almost all the things. I'm here on the behalf of Center for Insurance, PGDM Insurance Program, and I'm going to share whatever we did to engage the students. The only difference is that in our research center, we have very matured people to participate. While in our PGDM courses, almost 90% of the students are raw coming from the graduation side, and then the treatment has to be given differently. In the middle of March 2000, we got this pandemic, but the good point was that all our classes were over. And since we had a good time, 3-4 months time to get back to the teaching mode on online, and we had enough time. Before I go, let me thank our colleague, senior colleague, Professor Dubey sir, for conducting so many tutorial classes during those times and making us ready, mentally ready for taking the challenges which were to come in the next 2-3 months. One thing we did at our central level that don't know, right now we have so many tools and technologies to engage the student, deliver the content, maybe taking the assessment, but we deliberately stick to only few. So of course, Google Classroom and Zoom as a special case was permitted by the campus, permitted by the management. So we stick to that. So all the classes were conducted on Google Classroom. Very few were conducted on the Zoom. The good point was that by doing so, every faculty got the good practice of the nuances of handling those technologies. My thanks to also to my colleague Anil and Brijesh, because they were always available at the start of the class. So the teething trouble which we people have as a faculty, sometimes we are not that technically capable, they were always ready to get the class start on time. Of course, as I said, Google Classroom was the official channel. The best part was that majority of us took the classes from the classroom setup. So the background which our students are looking at, they feel connected. उनका फीडबैक जो आया तो वो ये भी था कि सर हम लोग ठीक है क्लास में नहीं बैठे हैं, लेकिन आप लोगों को क्लास में वॉक करते हुए पीछे सीट को देखते हुए क्लासरूम की फीलिंग आ रही है. That was a good point. Second point was that all the classes were recorded and they were available for review, available for the student if at all someone has missed that class. As far as engagement goes, somehow at insurance department we have this practice of having a dedicated group for long time. I remember in 2012 we started having a dedicated Facebook group in those time, and that has gone to the WhatsApp group for last 4-5 years. We had also the good person by the name of K.K. Krishnan sir, who was always active in putting material for the consumption of the student. We have made it very clear to our student that this particular WhatsApp group, which is semi-official kind of thing, if at all a faculty is sharing any reading material, that should be assumed to be a part of the syllabus. So they can't afford to ignore the content shared over there. Why I am saying unofficial? Because we also celebrate their success, their birthday parties. किसी को गाना भी गा सकते हैं. Rather, sometimes we invite them to share some of their latest creation. WhatsApp was perhaps the best way to engage. We have this also the mechanism. The guys are really on a study just a day before the exam. That is a fact. तो वहां हम लोगों ने उनको छूट दे रखी थी कि if at all you are reading your course and you have any doubt, kindly put the question in the WhatsApp group. The faculty will respond in the morning because their sleeping time, our sleeping time is different. So I use it very frequently. So I used to get a series of questions in the morning when I get up. I used to get up and then I used to respond by voice post. उनको answer बता देना, and that was easy for them. Zoom was used extensively, of course, in the class, also in the offline for celebrating many things. And here I would like to share at least one good thing which we could do and that was appreciated was conducting a Masti Ki Pathshala in the middle of the first semester. So after a month of online classes, we conducted that Masti Ki Pathshala. Originally it was planned only for an hour time, but it went up to 2.5 hours. And there we encourage the student to come for their all other extracurricular activity, गाना गाना है, dance करना है, जो करना है. That gave a good kind of bonding. As far as conducting classes evaluation, we strictly went through the Moodle and as well as from the Socrates. Again, every faculty used that tool, so everyone was conversant and there was no glitch at all. Coming back to the benefit of online system, we also had a good opportunity of engaging outside people and having an industry interaction. We started on the April 18th itself. We had our first CEO, and we run a CEO series for the 6-7 series of CEO series. Followed by all our events were conducted online. Insurance Colloquium got a good mileage over there. And for last 3 months, we are conducting a weekly event by the name of Insurance World this week, which I keep sharing, where we invite our senior alumni or industry. So that online has given enough opportunity to connect even with the industry. Of course, I may mention over here, apart from whatever I said, there were a few faculties which used other mode of engagement also. Being a business communication faculty, I remember Professor Saloni using the podcast group assignment. She even used something called, I don't know personally.
She's here and she'll speak about that.
Okay, so she will, but being an insurance course, she was part of the insurance course. So this is what I just wanted to share. Online, of course, was challenging, but I believe now we as a faculty and students are also accustomed to it. And we are having a good time. Things are not that bad as we assumed initially. And I believe that we are in a position to engage the student for the fruitful discussion. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this.
Thank you, Professor Pandey. Thank you for abiding by the time. I move on to Dr. Archana Singh, who is representing the Center for International Business and Policy here. She is Assistant Professor of Operations and Decision Sciences. So over to you, Archana.
Thank you, Manushi, ma'am. Good morning, a very good morning to all my faculty colleagues from BIMTech and BGU Bhubaneswar. I'm here to share a few initiatives taken by International Business Program for engaging students in the post-COVID-19 era. Academic year 2021 was an altogether different experience for students as well as for the faculty at BIMTech due to the sudden, or we may say forced transition to online teaching learning. Though, of course, we were discussing the blended or the hybrid mode of teaching from a few couple of years. But then, of course, this was a total shift towards online teaching. So last academic year, trimester 1 and 2 were conducted in full online mode, whereas the third trimester was conducted in blended mode. A few students present in the classroom, where the others attending the class online. As a program, we tried to bridge the gap and emphasize or try to make the learning experience of students as good as possible. Last academic year, session got a little delayed and started in the month of August. So much before the formal commencement of the session, for the students of the incoming batch in the month of June, the International Business Program conducted 3 ice-breaking sessions. These were organized by the students of the senior batch, and this was done so as to make the students familiar with the batchmates and also to keep them occupied as there was a delay in starting the session. In addition to this, a few more interactive sessions were conducted in the month of June and July by the International Business Program officials and the students of the senior batch, so as to take upon the doubts and queries of the incoming batch. And in those sessions, we got the queries regarding everything. It was maybe regarding the courses, specialization, clubs and conduits, campus life, hostel facilities, and many other things. So of course, but the students felt connected, though they were not in the campus, but still they felt connected with the program as well as with their seniors. For the same purpose, a formal and an informal WhatsApp group where only students were there were also formed to take upon all kind of queries from the students. After this, when session started in trimester 1, for most of the courses, a smaller class size was kept. The class size generally is 60 students, but in trimester 1, we kept it 30 students, so that of course, for a better interaction between the faculty and the students. It was done for most of the courses. Other than this, throughout the session, students were motivated for participating as well as organizing online events. This was important for their collaborative learning. PGDM IB students organized 2 online events, namely one Omniglots and the other Cosmo Relay. Due to virtual event, we could get stalwarts from the industry as judges from different parts of the globe, which actually, was a very good experience for these students to get such distinguished judges for their events. We also conducted guest lectures and alumni interactions were also there. And again, the good part was due to online mode. It was a good part then that due to the online mode, we were able to invite guests from different parts of the globe. In addition to this, students were also given an opportunity to take on some online certification in virtual mode. Then other than this, in International Business Program, we have certain field projects where students are required to take the interviews or to survey and to visit the places to get the information, which was not possible due to the COVID conditions. So such field projects were basically modified and were converted into research projects, where students made use of the primary data information and they made use of telephonic and other online medium like Zoom or Google Classroom for interactions. So we tried to just make this sure that such subjects where primary data or information is required do not suffer because of the COVID conditions. Okay, so also I would like to share, last but not the least, about a virtual live project which our students were able to do. And this was the name of the project. This live project is Challenge, and basically one of our alumnus is there, and he founded a packaged drinking water bottling and distribution company. This company was formed in the month of October 2020, and the project started in the month of November 2020. As a part of the project, under the mentorship of company's director and faculty from BIMTech, students learned to establish a greenfield company and placing theory into practice side by side. And basically they worked on all the aspects, whether it was formulating the vision, mission of the company, or website design, or designing the logo for the company, and supply chain, competitive analysis, everything. They just worked on all aspect of the company. So this was a very good, we received a very good feedback from both the company director as well as from our student, because they got a chance, opportunity to work on a real project, establishing a company. So this is all I would like to share from International Business Program. Many initiatives were taken by the faculty also, but that will be shared in this panel discussion by the respective areas. So I have not included that part in my.
Thank you. Thank you, Archana. And I saw a question from Professor Pankaj in the Q&A box. My request to everyone is, if you have questions, please share them in the chat box. And the panelists here would be responding to your questions in the chat window itself. Now, Professor Pankaj had asked me to give an example of restorative practices. I had shared during the presentation that, in the virtual classroom, you could enable deeper discussions with the students, wherein they could share their viewpoints and come to know who all share a similar viewpoint, and they could also get to know the different perspectives of different students. So that was one question answered here. The rest of it would be answered in the chat box. Now I request Professor Dr. Shomannoy Ghosh, who is chairperson of our IQAC at BIMTech and also associate professor in the operations and decision sciences, to tell us about the initiatives of their area. Go, sir. You are muted.
Thank you, Manushi Madam. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Like you said, I am basically representing my area, being nominated by Patel sir, and so I will be mostly presenting what the area faculties, have.
Volume थोड़ा बढ़ाइए sir.
I will be largely presenting what the area faculties have done, the initiatives that they have taken. So please allow. Unfortunately, I always take recourse of slides, so allow me to share my screen.
In the meanwhile, Shukla sir, there is a question for you in the chat box. Yes, Ghosh sir. Your presentation is visible.
Yeah, so this is I have only 2 slides, so this is my opening slide. I put this cartoon deliberately because I think we need to be very aware of the fact that, just look at this batch that joined us a year ago, full of, enthusiasm, hope, aspirations, joining a new campus, a new physical, having batchmates, and they were denied all of that actually, and had to undergo most of, this period sitting at home and doing online classes, which is terrible actually. So I only hope that, things improve. So here are, very briefly some points. I received inputs from Dr. Archana Singh, so shared most of the prerequisite content like videos and readings before, classes took place. Extensive use of the smartboard, quiz at the end of each session to check, their readiness and alertness. Before, however, the first quiz was taken, a lot of practice and hand-holding was done to familiarize the students with the platform. And then, of course, cold calling students during the session. Dr. Bishnoi sent me some very interesting inputs. Discussions and interactions were rewarded by giving, points based on how well students were able to explain to other students certain things which were not clear to them. Um Again, quick, short, surprise quizzes, take-home assignments with bonus points for exceptional answers, frequent feedback from students to check their understanding. Mandatory use of software improved the participation, but of course, it took more time. Frequent use of short illustrative problems to tie up, whatever was being taught. The emphasis was more on depth rather than breadth of coverage. And participation is the key. Few sessions were used to set expectations and create a culture of participation. I would like to add a few points from my own side. I was taking a lot of inputs from, HBS related information and documents shared by director sir. And so I spent, almost 4 weeks initially to establish an emotional relationship with my students and making them absolutely comfortable. I told them things like, I was aware of the pains that they were going through. I was aware of their problems, their frustrations, and I told them that they were free to ask anything or consult me with me, or even just talk to me, not just about the course, but any other thing that they felt comfortable discussing with me, and I was always there. I told them that please don't worry about attendance. Feel free to disengage anytime or take breaks or ask for breaks from me if you feel cognitively drained, which they would, I suppose, every day. Um, Open license to everyone to stop me anytime, any number of times, as far as the session was concerned, that was being covered on that day. And I was very, uncharacteristically, very, very patient to answer their questions as many times as it required to be answered, so that they finally understood. I used a lot of course, real world illustrations and cases, YouTube videos. That was big, advantage of the online medium. I would call up YouTube videos anytime, spontaneously almost. The smartboard was very useful, much more useful than the usual slide projector, simply because I used very little text and a lot of visuals, and I would use the smartboard for writing, drawing, illustrating, annotating, answering questions. I would simply insert a couple of blank slides in my PPT, which would appear as white screen, and then do problems on that, and so on and so forth. And of course, certain fundamentals do not change irrespective of the medium that we use, which is that normally I use very little of exposition. Mostly my sessions are led through a series of interconnected questions. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much, Manushi Madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing these. Our next panelist, if you could please stop sharing, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. Shalini Singh, who would be representing the strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship area. But before that, I wanted to share with all our attendees here a short video from our 1921 batch student, Simran Pandit. And okay. Here it goes, and I hope Just a minute.
Hello, I am Simran Pandit. I would like to share a few points with regard to my experience of online classes and the practices which helped me feel more engaged during the classes. So the first
Manushi,
thing I
video is
always
not
found
visible.
intriguing was having a detailed
Okay.
discussion around case studies.
Thank you for bringing that to my notice, sir.
Just change the window.
Yeah. I'm doing it. Because I was able to see all of you on my screen, I was finding it a little difficult to share. I don't know why, what happened. Can you see the folder now?
Yeah, the folder can be seen.
And because earlier I tried when I did the check.
Hello, I am Simran Pandit. I would like to share a few points with
audio is
regard to
coming.
my experience.
Audio is coming.
Only the audio.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Let me help you, Manushi. Okay, let me play for you.
Yeah, the guru has to come to the rescue.
नहीं गुरु नहीं भाई आजकल चला.
That's why the guru has been kept at the end, because he will cover up.
Now you can see this na video.
There he is.
Yes.
The guru has
So
performed.
please,
नहीं
yeah.
सर आप लोग तो बस.
So yeah.
I am Simran Pandit. I would like to share a few points
Is the
regard
voice okay?
to my experience
Yes.
of online classes
Thank you.
and the practices which helped me feel more engaged during the classes. So the first thing I always found intriguing was having a detailed discussion around case studies. We were given case studies both for individual as well as group projects, and I found the latter to be more interesting. I remember having some really interesting discussions with my group members on a few case studies, and everyone was trying to bring in a point which was unique, and we ended up learning a lot about the company on which the case study was based. I also recently had a conversation with my juniors, and this was a thought that they all agreed upon. The next point that I would like to put forth is a little change in the way the quizzes are conducted. I believe using platforms like Kahoot once in a while could be effective in taking quizzes. I understand that platforms like these have certain limitations, but turning this into a group activity with low weightage could be helpful. Apart from this, I always found simulations really interesting. It helped me to take the perspective of an individual working for a company. And again, I understand this has a limitation that simulations can only be used for a select few subjects, but having an activity or project which helps the students to take this perspective could be engaging and helpful at the same time. Lastly, I'm not positive how often students are asked to switch on their videos, but asking them to do it alternatively could be helpful. I personally found it helpful because this practice added to my confidence while presenting myself in an interview or group discussion. Also, the student is more aware of what is happening on the screen while their video is on. That's all I had. I hope this was of some help. Thank you.
So thank you, Dubey sir, and over to you, Shalini ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Manushi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so a very good morning to all my faculty colleagues from BIMTech and from BGU. And I'll just take a few seconds to share my screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So it's a great privilege for me to represent and share on behalf of strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship areas the kind of initiatives and experiences that we have brought to the classroom in the last year during the pandemic when we have moved to the online mode. And if we look at the courses in SIE, I'll be calling it the SIE area. So by very nature, what we want to, one of the major outcomes that we actually want to bring in is how do we positively alter the process of thinking and application of learning in students. We have all experienced that during the pandemic, the way it has impacted the way we communicate and the way we interact. And we are at a point in time, we have seen that the younger generation or the students, they are more comfortable engaging with devices, application tools than actually people around them. You know, even if they are in the same physical space, they're more connected to a device than to people. So now how do we, in an online class format, how do we change the dynamics and make it, move it from being more facilitator centered to student driven or student led? So as we've heard, you know, a large number of faculty and experienced also that students in an online mode are, a large number are in a very passive, play a very passive role. So how do we get them to collaborate, to share their thoughts, come up with new ideas, be more curious? So across the strategy area, our faculty have, you know, introduced a large number of interventions and experiments to enhance engagement. So looking at the time that I have with me, I will not be talking about all of them in detail, but right from the dimensions of class size to content to structure to the delivery to bringing in projects to personalization, a large number of adaptations have been made to be more conducive to the online format. I will be talking specifically about 3 experiences that we introduced in the last year. They were more like an experiment, but I think somehow they worked positively. So how did we use the Shark Tank, brought it into classroom experience, the use of entrepreneurship simulation, and using a quiz beyond, you know, assessment. So these are the 3 things that I would just touch upon in a little detail. There's so much of content actually available on public domain. Now, how do we bring that to the classroom, some of it, because there's so much of a flood of content and we don't have time to read that. So the best part of a Shark Tank series, it's a business reality show around, you know, the theme of entrepreneurship. So the best part of it is it can be used to explain or learn a large number of business contexts. So what we did was in one of the classes, we would, you know, go together as a class, 1 or 2 episodes of the Shark Tank, analyze it, discuss it, threadbare around the topics that were to be covered on it. And then each student was given, group of students were given the task of going back, looking as a group, going through a couple of episodes, selecting one episode, learning about it, not only from the episode, but even from the secondary data that's available through internet and going through the company websites. And then they had to bring back and share their experiences and their learnings in class. And we brought a little change in this. While one group was presenting, there was another group who would pose as sharks. So at the end of the group presentation, the groups who were the sharks, they would question the group who had presented. So this made the students alert. And since they were interacting amongst themselves, they were very active and they were curious to know which group is going to ask what questions, how will their peers answer that. And so it worked well in the way that we experimented with. And likewise, there was also a faculty who introduced, asked students in groups to watch Ivy League lectures that are available online on the and then discuss the same in class, in groups. So that was something about using online public domain content and bringing that to the class. So moving to simulations. So we have 2 simulations in strategy area, which is the food truck challenge and the startup game. So what is really interesting about, I will specifically talk about the startup game since I'm more familiar with that. So how we introduced it in class is to understand what an entrepreneurial or an uncertain, ambiguous situation is like. Because going forward, the situation is going to be such for all the students. Things are going to change. And like they say, change is the only constant in life. So how do they manage uncertainty, ambiguity, and at the same time understand what a ecosystem of an entrepreneurship ecosystem is like? So this is more in the format of a role play where every student, and it's very student centric, every student is assigned the role of either a founder, investor, or an employee. They have a background of the role given to them, and they have no way but other than they have to go through their role and interact in class. So we were, in fact, BIMTech was amongst the first institutions to run this simulation, which has been created specifically for the physical format in online mode. Even Harvard business team were apprehensive whether we could do it, but it ran quite successfully. And so rather than bringing a person to talk or to share what a startup ecosystem looks like, they got into the shoes of founders, investors, employees, pitched themselves, reached out to all the members of their class, negotiated, made decisions. So the employees had to get a job in a startup. The founders had to get investors and employees onto their company. So another thing that this really made an effect was on team bonding, because the students themselves shared that we till right now had only interacted within our groups. So this was the first time they were actually interacting with the whole class as such, because they had to reach out to everybody. So this helped in that way too. And so I think this is about the entrepreneurship simulation that we ran. And the last thing is we did an experiment with using a quiz in a very different way. So we used the Kahoot platform, which is a gamified learning platform, and you could create quiz on that. And rather than using it to grade students, we actually used it to understand whether they had learned some concepts that we had shared in class the previous time. So it works in the format of a quiz, but what we did was we, at every, at the end of every question, we used to pause, and the platform itself throws up, how many students were able to answer the questions, how many were not able to answer the questions. So where we see the gaps, those were addressed. After every question, we paused and we discussed the questions, understandings, and it has some music playing in the background, and it also throws up the winners. So it kind of creates an energy, in the whole class. So I think these were some of the things as strategy area we wanted to share, and will be good to have your comments and thoughts. And I think now I'll hand it over back to Dr. Manasi to take it forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah. Next here is another video, which will be student video shared by Dubey sir. She is Zaisha, 1921 batch. So there's no sound.
No, there's none.
And are doing BIMTech from the 1921 batch. So having joined the institute 2 years back with many career aspirations, goals, and dreams, our journey did take a setback and underwent an abrupt transition with the onset of the pandemic last year in April. So ours was the first batch to deal with the online mode of learning, and the issues initially faced were many. Reduced attention spans, declining interests, more screen time, and more monologues. These things did hamper the essence of a highly interactive physical class. There were many areas of concerns that we as students wanted to be addressed at that point of time, and I'm very sure from the faculty side too. For example, too much lecture, which might be doable in a physical setup, but it seems a little too overwhelming when done online. Given the duration of the time and our screen time. Then reading off from the PPTs by the faculties, which promoted a one-way communication and hence led to boredom, declining engagement levels, etc. So now as the institute after a year gears up to adjust to the new normal and works towards providing a seamless hybrid learning experience to the upcoming batches, there are many things that can be worked upon, of course, after thorough contemplation. For example, unprecedented usage of the learning management system. All components of learning and teaching should be so well knit together, be it workshops, guest lectures, online lectures, activities, projects, in a way that don't seem overwhelming and are doable by the students working in a remote scenario. Then duration. A 1 to 2 hour lecture would be very feasible in a physical setup. But again, since we are operating remotely, the duration is something that should be worked upon. Then, while incentivizing participation does lead to involvement, but forced participation for the sake of rewarding awards, marks to the students, it's something that we as students do not appreciate much, especially when we are studying online, because at the end of the day, we are millennials. We obviously find out a way to answer the faculty or tackle that particular question. The most common being, sir, you're not audible, sir, you're not visible, we cannot hear you, or anything. So that does hamper our learning experience. So just to think that rewarding always is not good. Instead, healthy discussions where students actually develop their interest in the topic is more fruitful. Then we all are very much attracted towards colorful objects, shiny objects. They are very much attention seeking. So rather than just opting for PowerPoint slides, the faculties should use different modes. For example, latest technologies like whiteboard animations, more use of infographics, more colorful representations, so as to keep the interest of the audience intact. Then how lectures, concepts, experiences that are a little old, how are they going to stay relevant to us today and in the coming future, given the COVID scenario? That is what we look up to, and that is what we want to study and learn, because we'll be entering a completely different fashion of working, and we want to see how things like the lectures and whatever we learn are going to be interlinked with this new working scenario. And most importantly, both the students and the faculty, they should be well versed with the hardware and the software, because we observed a major chunk of our classroom timings being swallowed by these little deviations, like figuring out how the hardware works or figuring out some other things. Now, I recall a professor of ours who would, towards the end of every lecture throughout his course, would ask each and every student in the class what his takeaways were from the lecture. And he would patiently listen to each and every student, would comment time and again to their observations. Now, we as students, we were prompted to listen to him throughout his lecture so that we could come up with new, fresh points towards the end of the lecture, rather than just repeating our friends or what our classmates were saying, because at the end of the day, we are MBA students. We are very competitive in nature. We want everything that we do that should outshine others. So yes, this was a little helpful in paying attention. So now, as students, faculties, everybody adjust to the new normal, I think we should all embrace this digital realm and use it to stay uber connected. And we should work on ways that would help in filling this gap that has occurred over time between our learning and teaching patterns. Thank you.
So now over to Professor Manoj Pant, who is professor in the area of marketing and retail.
Thank you, Manasi ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So I have precisely 10 minutes. So I start at 11:34. My schedule is 11:44. Thank you. I'll just quickly share my
43.
screen. Okay, my laptop says 44. Anyways, no, not an issue. So first, quickly welcome everyone to this session, and I'll just skip the transactional parts. What we have done differently in marketing and retail area is the use of some tools like Zoom and Google Meet and other things. One thing what we have done as an area is that we have invested in the paid accounts of Zoom, which has got much more features like breakaway rooms, and the engagement was a lot higher. But having said that, I'll start with my first point, which is we had we have been having Markstrat simulation games for quite some time. But during this current pandemic sessions, a lot of sincere engagement we have seen. So quickly, it might sound monotonous for a lot of faculties who don't teach marketing or not interested in simulation, but that was one high engagement point we saw with the students. So we very, very simple Markstrat simulation, and it encompasses all the learning experience of marketing, finance. Quickly, I'll just show it on the screen. And as I demonstrated, this is all happening in real time. So the students' concern and angst that a lot of time is taken by technology and other things is taken care of. So I'll just illustrate a screen. So this is a course we have done for PGDM and section C and D. So I'm illustrating it for section C. So very interesting simulation game. And we play with various teams, and each team has 4 or 5 participants depending on the class size assigned to it, and they are competing every round. And every round, I as a faculty get to engage with them and converse with them as to what they have done, what they have learned, what difficulty they are finding. And at each point, I could engage with them. And with online, there was no room for any student to remain complacent, because each student would have to present the things. So that was one thing which was very engaging, I felt. And second was a tool like Jamboard. Jamboard is part of a Google platform. I'll just quickly share the screen. The 9 dots which appear on the right side of the screen. And we have successfully used this app for a lot of collaborative work and engagement with the students during the class. Say, for example, 90-minute class. Someone is finding it interesting.
We thought it was you.
No, it was not me. No. Anyways, not a problem. So we go to the Jamboard section, and this is part of that Google portfolio, which appears somewhere around here. And I click this, and I come to the screen. You can see my screen. Okay. So what I have done as my session got started, I have sent you an invite link in your email box. So each of you can coordinate and interact with me live as we talk. So this Jamboard I have used, and many of my colleagues have also used very successfully in the classroom for engaging with the students. So for example, for this FDP session, I have created 7 frames, one for marketing and retail. And I see some of my faculty is already there on that thing. I have prepared, Dubey sir is there, Pratik Priyadarshi ji is there. And the link would have come to you in the mailbox. And we could divide the finance area, Nimisha ma'am has joined, and IT area. So these are 7 broad areas which we have thought of. Similarly, you could engage with the students in the class, giving them different questions, and see all of them engage real time. And I have seen the engagement level has gone down. Professor, I see about 10 odd faculties on my screen. So this is a very engaging thing, and you could set a context for each of them. You could set, say for example, FDP opinions, say for example. And this could work in real time. So this is one part. What I thought, and students are they lap up technology like anything. So this was very engaging. So next, we come to an interesting concept, and I would owe my thank to Dubey sir for a lot of the technology savviness. He has introduced us to a lot of technologies, but even Jamboard, Socrative, Penju. We'll just quickly come to a small tool called Socrative. This is a tool, and it will be great if you I'll just please type in Socrative on Google, and you would come to this quiz module. So there I have I have shared the quiz on the screen. So I have also prepared a small quiz. I thought I'll quickly share with all my colleagues as we talk. And so this is the quiz. And this quiz can be run live as we talk. So
tell the meeting room.
And the meeting room is, I'll put it on the chat.
That I have done.
That Dubey sir has done. So we'll start the quiz now. Just a minute. And we have put some very trivial questions about general discussion. So let me start this quiz. 1 minute. Okay, so I have an option of requiring names and all those things, instant feedback. I can shuffle answers, no final score. Okay, so now the quiz is 1 attempt. Okay, so this is on a professional version. Okay, so I have launched the quiz and I'll put it on the chat. Dubey sir has already put it on the chat. The score, the room name is PANT 9499. So a lot of you can join the chat room. Students can join it immediately. I see 3 colleagues have already joined. So this is a real-time thing. And I can, over a period of time, show the results also. So I can show the response, results of all the questions. I see I have, out of an audience of 90, there are 5 people who have joined the quiz. And this is one very good and real-time way to engage with all the learners. And students know that the quiz is on and their marks will be shown on the screen. I see the number is going up, and that's a very good way to engage. So what we will do, quickly we will share it on the screen. I have put some very easy questions on the screen. So, okay, so just for the sake of questions, I have put very simple questions, and I can see the results for each of these questions. Question number 2. I can see how many students have answered it correctly. I can see individual results. The purpose is we engage with the student real time. So we see all these questions. So that is one part. Second and important part is using Google Meet and Zoom. Of course, Zoom, many would be familiar. I'll not go through it again. So Google Meet has got one benefit, that it starts very fast. As we talk, we start with this Google Meet. You can start immediately. You have got 3 options. A new meeting, I can create a meeting for later. I can start an instant meeting. I can schedule a Google meeting in the calendar. And this starts. This is in real time. So that is one thing. And I can keep on adding participants. I can keep on adding participants from here. So I can add all of the people on the screen as we talk. I want to add all faculties to my screen. I have added faculty. I can add everyone to the screen. So it works very fast, very convenient. It's a standing start sort of a thing. So that's one part. And one more interesting thing which I wanted to share is the facility of screen recording. That's called Panopto, and thanks to Dubey sir for having shown us what are the possibilities with this. And I'll quickly show a video. And this is what we have recorded, what I have recorded, and I'll quickly share with you. There is an option of captions also. I'll quickly give a context of this video. This video is in a regional language and with captions in English. So this is for our commencement day. So it gives you a perspective of that. So, and this was recording in the home settings without a requirement of a studio. So that was a very useful tool, I would say. And we have one more tool, but I'm running out of time. I have just about 10 seconds odd left. So last but not least, there's one very interesting thing what we have been using in Center of Online Studies, and that's the facility of the proctored examination. So this is what it works like. I'll just quickly illustrate, give a demonstration. So it gives you a perspective of how technology can help us. And trust me, the engagement does not go down. And this is, we are talking of an online course with proctored examination and students enjoying every bit of it. So I can see the student, I can verify his documentation, and I can also look at whether the student is copying or not. I can see the student real time. So this also increases the engagement level, I would say. So this much for my time. Thank you all. And I guess we would be open to sharing more with the interested faculty. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manojji. And I have, okay, we have requesting one more time, panelists, please look at the chat window, some questions there, please respond to them. And before I go on to the next panelist, I was finding it a little difficult to, decide which order to go forward with. And so I thought of spinning the wheel. Okay, so I have the names of some of my colleagues here, and let's see who gets to speak first. Okay, Pooja, it is you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This was a very interesting start. So, can it be done with 30 students in a class? I would definitely want to try that.
Yes, it can.
Great. Okay. So, to start with, since the most challenging part in our area is that often students complain that it is very rhetorical in nature and it is very theoretical. So, students are often bombarded with a lot of theories. So, to engage the students in virtual mode especially, our area focused on 5 innovative categories to engage them. So, first was ice breaking. So, first to ensure that they are not nervous and they know each other, ice breaking sessions, then interactive sessions, then team building, then experiential learning and reality based learning. So based on these 5 areas, in ice breaking, for opening sessions, various icebreakers, business games, role plays, case methods and fun activities were used just to make the student comfortable in the class. Then once they are comfortable for interactive learning, what we will do to make the sessions more interactive, first the faculties will share the presentations ahead of time with the students. So they were asked to come prepared and read the PPT before time. Then in the classroom, while the faculty is discussing the presentation, in between, any student would be picked up randomly and would ask to discuss the chosen slide. That, okay, what is your input on that particular slide? Then also students were provided with interactive learning videos that were shared by Manoshi ma'am, I think, on the this WhatsApp faculty group. So I think you have responded to Shreya on how you actually, whether you like the videos or not. Then again, as a part of assignment, students were asked for movie making. So what was their learning on particular aspects or the topics that were taught to them? So they were again, they went to, learn a new app for how to make a movie out of it. Then to facilitate understanding of various concepts, integrated applications like Telegram, then screener apps, WhatsApp were also used. So that students could, integratedly use all the applications together while learning. Then for reality-based learning, what we did, students, because often we have seen that they are not aware of what's going on around in the globe. So they do not have a habit of reading news articles, basically. So what we did, students were asked to read news articles on a daily basis. And once they join the Zoom platform or Google or any platform on which faculty is teaching, they were supposed to write those articles in the chat room. And once the faculty starts teaching the concepts, in middle of the class, students were asked to relate those news articles to the taught concepts. So this way they were keeping updated with what is going around in the globe, as well as they could link the concepts to the news articles. Then likewise, to give a hands-on experience, so in the selection process, like students often sit in the interviews. So to prepare them for the interviews, what they were done, students were provided with pre-described job descriptions, and they were asked to carry out that recruitment and selection process of each other on a virtual platform. Then critical review-based discussions were carried out on, new labor codes based on YouTube surveys were used, Google surveys were used with the students. Then for making teaching more effective, one of our faculty used the technique of best alternative to negotiated agreement to analyze the zone of potential agreement of students itself. Then for experiential learning, as a part of assignment, students were asked to select any organization of their choice. And they were asked to go and interview that organization and assess, okay, what kind of culture that organization works on and what are the practices and procedures. And based on that, students, came to know about, okay, what is their interest area, what kind of organization they want to join in future. Then similarly, for as a part of learning and development program, students in groups were asked to carry out training need identification and analysis of different departments of our institute of BIMTech. So it was up to the students of any department. They could pick and go interview them and identify what is the need assessment of that particular area of BIMTech. Then likewise, to know, okay, what is the learning of every individual in a group, students were asked to make self videos of what was the key takeaways from every session by each student. And lastly, for team building, for every class activity, what we did, performance of each group was measured using poll surveys that was anonymous in nature. So students randomly, told that, okay, according to them, this group must be the winner. And towards the end of the class, the total marks on each activity was compiled for each group. And we saw that, okay, which group or which team has emerged as a leader towards the end of the session. And based on that, we provided them some non-monetary benefits, like we ordered something, pastries or cakes from Zomato for them. So they had that sense of achievement that, yes, we were the best team in the entire class. And lastly, we also utilized various online simulations such as the Everest by Harvard publication to enhance the leadership and team building groups. So that was from HROB area. So we welcome any questions from. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja Malik. She was representing the OBHR area. She's assistant professor here. And now let's see who goes next. So, as you would have noticed, Dr. Pooja Malik's name has been removed from the wheel automatically. And this could be used in class as well, to keep your students alert. And now we have Professor Saloni Sinha representing the business communication area.
That's cheating. That was Amrendra Pandey. The spin wheel showed his name. But thank you so much.
Like we have the EVMs being doctored, the allegation. What's the guarantee that this tool isn't? So you got to add credibility here.
Okay. So I have a different story to share. And of course, on behalf of my area, I'd like to share with all of you that our subject gives us a lot of scope of doing things differently. So I think we are very lucky that we can integrate a lot many ways to enhance the communication skills, and each one of us have our own styles. And like yesterday, it was clearly in the guest speech, the last one, I think Dr. Anil was there. He said a teacher teaches what she is and not what she teaches. So I remember that each one of us will carry ourselves in the class and deliver. So today I'm going to quickly share about some initiatives taken by my area. And in our communication process, we focus a lot on not only the basics of written and spoken and all that, but heavily careful and mindful of the industry needs with respect to employability skills. So I think I'd like to share on behalf. In the trimester, when the new batch came, we all had our own ideas, and we did podcasts, we watched movies together with the students and analyzed non-verbal communication. So it was like in the OTT culture and all of that. So we were giving them education where they would be found most. So, through apps and watching the movie together and analyzing various aspects of communication. I did theater-based training, especially focusing on online voice voice training. So that was after which the assignment given to them was on podcast, and the insurance batch actually discussed very critical issues, which were being discussed across the globe. So they were discussing farmer issues, sensitive topics, really sensitive ones, and they really did a good job with their podcasts. And similarly, there were other things. But just now, I'll take the liberty of, with the permission of my area head, I'm elaborating on one of the assignments that I did for my class, and which was not taken very happily, to be very honest. However, I would just still share the journey with all of you. Allow me to share the screen, and please confirm if you're able to see my slide. And Manushi ma'am, I have edited a few part of it. It is? Okay. I'll put it on screen share, full screen mode. Okay. So remember, we were all stuck all of a sudden. 18th of March, I remember, was my last day here, and 19th onwards, I didn't step out. 18th, me and our director recorded what would happen in future if this continues with employability, with business, and etc. And that was a big learning for me. During the lockdown, a lot was happening. And what were we doing as teachers? We were also suddenly, really making all efforts to become that teacher which would be performing excellently when the online batch comes to us. So we were all anxious. We were and all those apps and all those kinds of things we learned, and we tried to become relevant for the world that is ahead of us in our classrooms and the kind of students we will get. But it wasn't so easy. The bumpy ride we've all experienced. We all saw this happening, and how did we feel? Did we even think behind the videos which were switched off what was happening to that student? This was what we both were facing, the students as well as us. Families suffering, anxieties of all kinds. We each one of us have our own survival stories of that period. However, the commitment I did to myself was between the two worlds of loss, pain, grief, trauma. I would come back in the class with a strategy that would help all of us fight this phase. And that means teaching by heart and actually connecting with all the love and care and understanding which I also would need as a teacher. So with all that in mind, this is the kind of world we were tackling with. It was not just the pandemic, the health crisis. It was also excessive flow of information all across, which was really ruining the minds of all of us. So there was unnecessary flow of information, and we were all contributing to it as well. And in the middle of all this chaos, we had to enter our classes to teach. So normally when I have to initiate any activity in class, I realize that we were all living through a life, and we were all in the first phase of lockdown enjoying art, cuisine, cooking, being together, games. And as a teacher, we had both the worlds to handle. And the only way I saw that we could heal the world is probably bring in art. But how? So every trimester, I go back to the latest skills report, be it McKinsey, be it India Skills Report, or any. Yeah, I won't take much time. So based on these reports, I've designed an activity which I'll take you through, and I'll skip the videos because we don't have time. And the one thing that I learned was intentionality. And this is the activity which I'm sharing with you just now. Intentionality is something which will help us wade through post-COVID trauma of any and every sphere of our life. So during which I introduced the comic book project, and this project actually was covering all the topics I had taught. It was the last assignment of the trimester when it was Christmas, when it was New Year time, and when the exam was about to start, and many students were shifting to the campus. I connected them through art. I connected the employability skills that post-COVID era would be expecting, as well as the real world problems like domestic violence. I wanted them to kind of start realizing each household is facing a new challenge of various kinds: isolation, intergenerational, domestic violence, suicide, job loss, and a number of such real issues. And it was a cross-culture project, so therefore they were comparing India and another country. So set of groups of countries were assigned to them. And none of the students wanted to do that, but 2 of them did agree. And remember, yesterday they said, have your own tribe and your own community. So these are some of the students. I'll just play this for you.
Let's do voice and
Did I increase the volume? Still not audible. Couldn't hear the video?
No.
no.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. So maybe just I'll skip this. So there were 130 students who took this assignment from PGDM IB and PGDM Section B. And the journey from the trimester was actually more beautiful after the trimester. So all the learnings that they got during the trimester through this project, they actually came back to me even during exams. There were 5 students who continued to be with me, and there are other 7 of them also. We have some work in progress and a small achievement. This project was an entry in the Awards Asia Times Higher Education. There were 2,000 entries, and 81 were invited on June 2nd, and thankfully we got a space there. But the best part is that, we got a global short-term project for the students because I shared it with my mentor, and he offered a comic case development project to us, which is currently in the 4th review stage with Emerald Publication in their cartoon book case. So I just wanted to share that post-COVID, I'm skipping the video. Yeah. So we had the academia and we had the industry supporting us. And with their guidance, I was able to design these. And what I got from the entire project was the belief, the trust, which during the trimester was very challenging. But later in the second panel, I'll refer to some of these examples because we are talking about teaching by heart over there, and you would be able to relate it. So this was a journey of an intentional teacher and her pack who made a cartoon out of her with her. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Saloni. And I know we are a little into the tea break, but my apologies for that to all the panelists and the attendees. In BIMTech, tea and snacks were served long back. So with permission from Dhruv Chak sir, I wish to invite the next panelist, Professor.
Please go right ahead. Please.
Ankur Kulshresht.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so just landed into the afternoon space. Good afternoon, everyone. So I would be very, very brief, being a tail ender specifically, in the first session. There were a lot of initiatives from the finance area, and, Amrendra is also going to speak, a bit about that. But I think we would like to highlight one, wherein we initiated the process of a blended learning program. Now, blended learning, most of you have already attended the session by PC Narayan Professor. I think happened in October, November of 2019. And there was a pre-COVID FTP that we had organized. So therefore, what I'm basically trying to put out as a context is that this form of learning is not unique only for online, but is also applicable when the face-to-face and physical classroom picks up. Although the benefits of it are many-fold in an online setting. So it's been a blessing in disguise year 2020 that the format of blended learning has been super useful in the online learning. So what we typically do is we divide the overall sphere of what, let's say, you want to deliver in 2 hours. We divide that into 2 parts. First is a monologue, which sometimes students find it very boring, and you take that out of that face-to-face interaction time. So, and you put that, let's say first 15 minutes or first 20 minutes, you put that in form of a video, use animations if you like, depending on what resources you have, and place it onto a portal like a YouTube or an internal portal of the firm. And the student is expected to pre-watch that, and it could be a 10-minute or a 12-minute or a 5-minute, depending on the depth of the concept and the subject. They are supposed to not pre-read but pre-watch that and enter the class. Now it kills 3 birds at one time. First is students, we feel that sometimes the time is too short to cover something in 2 hours or 90 minutes. That gets taken care. Number 2, it makes it very engaging because the student is also talking from the first minute of the live interaction. And the third is, which I find is to be most important, that these days a lot of freshers are getting attracted to the MBA program, which initially was conceived for only a working professional, because MBA is a solution. Unless you know a problem while you're working, you'll not be able to appreciate 4 C's of communication and 4 P's of marketing. So by creating these videos, you can introduce the problem to the student so that the live interaction can be used for talking and discussion. So from a listener, we are changing his pedagogy to a discussant, and the student feels much more participative, much more empowered by looking at it. So I'm going to take you to that page. That's very basic and simple. So I'm going to share my screen here. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
You can create a lot of animations on this page itself. So I've kept it plain vanilla. So these are some of the videos that I had created. And if you see that, there is a small video. Typically, these are, 13 minutes, 15 minutes, 10-minute kind of a thing. And you see, these are only for one course of financial accounting. So if imagine a 30-hour course divided into 90-minute sessions, so there would be roughly 18, 19 sessions overall. So every session would have at least one, if not more, a pre-watch video to look at. So if you look at this balance sheet basics and 6 valuation basis. So any listener who will watch this is going to be a little bit aware about what is balance sheet, even if he's an engineer. He's a little bit aware about what is a valuation base, why are we using it, so that when we meet in live class, I don't have to really put forth the monologue again. Point of disclaimer here. So you can kind of go on in terms of creating these videos, and as you see that you started with half shirts and ended with jackets. So it took me a lot of time to kind of develop it for the full course. But a quick disclaimer here that it as a these videos are not for anyone who is not part of your live class. So let's not try and kill 2 audience and try and satisfy 2 audience with one video. There are certain videos which are self-watch, which are self-help. This is not one of those videos, because in these videos, the case that I'm going to use in the live class will be referred, will not be executed. So I have to be very clear that this is the case I'm going to use after 5 days, and this is what has happened 2 days ago. So I will use example of, let's say, Paytm, and so it becomes very live and it's not a stale thing. And perhaps after 2 years we'll have to refurbish all of that, because the examples will change, the case studies will change, and all of that. So it's a bit of an effort, but I think it's worth it, specifically for weaker students, specifically for students who are not from accounting background. So I think it's been super successful. It's a good effort initially, but it is equally rewarding to my sense. Over to you, Manushi.
Thank you, Professor Ankur. It has been a long wait for Dr. Amrendra Pandey. Over to you. He is representing the economics area.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am not only representing your economics. I also take some classes in finance, so I will also take Mike's finance things. But since everyone has talked and most of the points have already been covered, in economics was one of the subject which was always on the forefront last year because of the policy initiatives that the government took. And it was, so what we did in this pandemic, we did not initiate the discussion with the theories in the class. All the faculties in the area consciously decided that we will take first the examples. that what is happening right now, and then we will go and take the theory and we will link it to the theory. And doing so, students got engaged because everyone was anxious to know that how the economy will perform, what will happen to there. So everyone was able to connect, and the discussion used to happen, very intense discussion used to happen in the classes. Similarly, our area is blessed with the faculties writing in the national dailies regularly. And since they used to bring their own writing and own things in the classes, that used to engage to get the attention of a lot of the students in the classes. So it was that was really helpful. We all used those caselets and those news articles as the caselets in our classes. Similarly, not only in this pandemic, but before this pandemic also, economics area is always taking the newspapers, cuttings and newspaper articles in the classes. And we design our classes around that, because you see the editorials that appears in the Financial Express or Business Standard, and they are written and they are very connected to what is happening in the real. Economics is a subject which is always changing. Every day the new economic theories are coming, and the old theories are always becomes irrelevant. So that helped us in connecting with the students. Okay, so that for the economics area. In the finance, I take particularly subjects which are your modeling and coding related. Okay, like credit modeling and financial econometrics. These are related to financial modeling and coding in R. And online was really helpful for me. I will maybe I will differ with others that online will not be is not that much effective, but for this kind of coding related classes, online was really effective, because what we used to do is we students used to get the coding. When I share the screen, they can see the codes directly. They can interact with me. Whatever they cannot understand, they can put it in the chat and we can discuss it over there. So it was really helpful to teach the analytics and coding related classes online, and maybe even in the physical classes, when the physical classes will start, even then I will let these screens to be shared so that everyone can see the codes. Otherwise, in our classes, the people who are sitting in the back, they cannot see the codes, and every time they will ask that what you have written over there. No? So it's really helpful over there. So that's it from my side. I hope I have not taken much time. Thank you.
Thank you, Amren. And finally, we come to the Guru, who has educated us on the technology for online teaching, Professor Sanjeeva Shankar Dubey, who is professor and head of the IT area, and also chairperson schools.
Ansi, we need to really make this short now. We're really.
Yes, sir. He's the last speaker. Dubey sir, you are not audible.
सर ध्रुव सर शुरू तो करने दीजिए, उसके बाद खत्म होगा. So this is not about my submission. It is submission about the IT area. All the faculty colleagues, Nimisha and Chanchal and Kapil, and we put together this thing. What we did in the IT area was that whichever IT courses we are teaching, we are giving them some experimental tools or platforms on which they are able to create some projects. So that was the main stage. You can see here, I mean, I will not talk about the tools which other colleagues have mentioned, Socrates, Penju, etc., because they were more for engagement. I will just mention one tool which for engagement later on. But as all of you know, and this again, we have a lot of discussion about the cross-discipline courses. I would strongly encourage other faculty colleagues in other areas to either collaborate or come in touch with me. There are tons of material. For example, if somebody wants to teach about the marketing analytics, there is something available in IBM Academy. Okay, or you can use the OpenSAP platform to create something on blockchain. You know, if you want to try out things like that. The other things which we tried out was that we have got a lab-based approach. Of course, in the pandemic, our IoT lab was not used because of students were not there. But there is a lab, online lab. Whichever course we conduct, like in InsurTech or digital technology, we give them a freeware where they create their own projects, and together they they address. Some of them create the chatbots, some of them create the marketplace. Like if we are teaching digital commerce, so in that case we'll ask them to use ShareTribe to create their own marketplace. So when we are explaining the marketplace concept, perhaps this tool can help them to explain how the things work. So in the interest of time, of course, many of the things have already been discussed. The last thing which I wanted to mention here is that asynchronous engagement. Asynchronous engagement means that if we are dealing with the students outside, outside the class, how do we engage with them? So I suggest to them to maintain a diary or a learning reflecting of what they have done in this class. This you can see here. I ask them to maintain this diary, and my diary is shared to my students, and I'm making some comments and notes. And here are the students who are writing their diary. So they shared by someone. Some lecture note they are doing it. At least you are able to see how they are performing. And once in a while in the morning, I will say Sunday musing. Sunday musing, I am writing something about my own, from myself. So you are exposing your students with your thought process, maybe your predicament, and so on. Like Soloni just now mentioned, quoting someone yesterday, that is a personality you are presenting in front of the students. And the more you explain them, and this is a very good tool, Penju is a good tool. As a matter of fact, I'll still suggest all our faculty colleagues to use this tool if you still want to maintain your own journal. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to all my panelists. Over to you, Dhruv, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mansi, for this lovely session to all of your panelists. Before concluding the session, let me offer an unqualified apology to Dr. Mansi Chaudhary for getting her designation wrong at the outset of the session. That was quite unforgivable. Blame it on old age.
No problem.
She is very much the head of our HR and organization behavior area, not the head of our business communication area, which Dr. Archana Srivastav heads. Anyway, we have both for you this morning in the firm belief that two heads are better than one. So in conclusion, let me say that was a very interesting session, which has left us with much to think about and experiment with in the coming academic session. It's a constant challenge for all of us to keep students engaged in the online mode. And I'm sure we will benefit from the shared wisdom which we have listened to of so many faculty who have tried so many different experiments. I strongly suggest that we all try some of these ourselves and make sure that our students are engaged in the next academic section more than they have been in this one. So thank you once again.